here we are, season 11, episode 2. Very excited to have everyone here. Golf spiritual leader, that's who I am. Coach Tim is right there. You're watching us on YouTube. Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Hi, Tim.
Good to see you.
Good to see you. I give you a big embrace, a big warm hug.
Thank you.
Every time I see you now, I'm going to like, that's my buddy, Tim. How's he doing? And how are you doing? You said to me your standard answer is what?
We're doing okay.
Doing okay. Well,
we're doing okay. That is the answer. I mean, like sometimes it's getting on, doing well, laughing, carrying on in life, and then there's other times we go, "Oh yeah, that happened with Corey." Yep. So that's part of the journey, man.
Yeah, I was going to say no one's prepared. No one has the experience until they do, and I can't think of somebody with a better background and a better foundation than you to take on this shitty task. But to golf now, everybody. Let's mention this program is brought to you by TaylorMade QI 4D drivers. It is their fastest, most fittable driver yet. It's time to find your new fast. I'll tell you what, there's not going to be any shortage of food for thought. How do you like that little, see that? Fasting, food for thought. Do you even understand what I'm doing here, Zokol? I don't even think you get it.
He's a podcaster now. No, he's attuned to this type of stuff now.
He's like, I could do that. You know what? You're not even ready to even think about that. He is the author of a brand new book. He's got a brand new podcast, but his appearances on our show is pretty routine. It's always great to welcome back one of the most articulate, certainly one of the brightest, one of the great guys of golf, former PGA Tour player, and now author of Zokology, which we'll talk about. It's Richard Zokol. Hey, buddy.
Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Howard. Good to be with you again. I missed you last year, but you guys are on your way. You're doing a great job. Thank you for having me.
Oh, well, you're on your way now. What's the name of your podcast?
Tough Lies, the Golfers Podcast, co-hosted with Colin McDougall. You know Colin, I'm sure.
Well, Timmy, tell your Colin story, because you were about to tell me before we hit record.
Yeah, so about 1,000 years ago, when I was writing for magazines and stuff, I got assigned to do a profile in a major financial magazine on Don McDougall. And Don was the guy who, very successful business guy. He was former president of Labatt's. He's the guy who negotiated with the American League to bring the Blue Jays to Canada. And just an interesting side note, when he negotiated that, that led to the development of TSN. And you never had all sports TV in Canada. So I became friends with Don, and through Don, I got to know Colin, who he had been a university golfer and got into the golf business, and they bought the golf club company AccuForm.
That's
right. Really? Wow.
Yeah. So I got to know both of them really well. So I go back frickin' decades with Colin. Super guy, very bright. And I don't know how he ended up with a ne'er-do-well like you, Dick, but why don't you tell that story?
Well, yeah, Colin had showed up at Predator Ridge about a year ago or 2 years ago, kind of planning his retirement, and his plans include moving out west to the Okanagan. And then last year he did, and so I asked him what he's doing, and we're chatting at the driving range. He's hitting a few balls. He says, well, I was thinking about doing a podcast. And I'm kind of going, okay, hey, that's interesting. I'm thinking about doing a podcast too. And then, and I don't know if you guys know, but I retired from Predator Ridge last February. And so over the wintertime, we said, look, let's get this thing going. And we penciled it together and put it together. And we're on, we're only about 310 episodes behind you guys. So we started it. We called it Tough Lies, the Golfers Podcast, and bringing on Mike Weir and guests, and we had Rick Fair on this week, and so we're into that world. And
well, I was going to say what I like about it so far, Richard, is I like the idea. I like the immediacy of it. I follow you on social media, and so when I see you put out a podcast, what I like, at least so far, maybe this isn't complete your vision, but what I liked about it was it's you and Colin reacting to the stories of the day. You know, what tournament just got played.
Yeah.
And as golf fans, we see things that go on in professional golf, but it's kind of cool having a guy like you with the immediacy of commenting on it. So I'm going to put you on the spot. Let's take what just
Rory.
happened. Rory, 3 or 4 days ago, we all watch him, win his second jacket. What were your thoughts?
Well, my immediate thoughts right after it was fascinating because it was a continuance of him a year ago at the Masters when he struggled so mightily in the final round. And he's continuing it on. So kind of jumping back last year, pre-Masters 2025, Rory got that massive lead going into the final round. He lost the lead. He lost the tournament 3 times before he won it. And he's in a mental state of just shock, post-traumatic stress disorder. When he lost that lead, he feels comfortable. So he double bogeys the first hole last year to lose his lead. And then it inspired him. He got the lead back. Then on 13, he chips it in the water from a you got to be kidding position.
Worst shot in the history of
loses the
major
lead.
championships.
Yeah, he loses the lead again, and then comes out miraculously every time he has a catastrophe. He hits this remarkable shot on 15, then on 17, then on 18, and then he's got the lead. All he's got to do is hit the green and 2-putt, and he wins. And he dumps it in the bunker. He loses it again.
Hey, just pause for a second. I wanted to ask you, when he dumped it in the bunker on 18 to have to go into a playoff, you know what that shot reminded me of? That was a very Greg Norman shot.
That's it.
Yes, Norman did
Greg
the same
Norman.
thing.
Norman did the same thing. Not only there, but Norman's miss under pressure was the inability to square the club face. Could you just pause the Rory story for just a second?
Sure.
How does somebody at the elite level, like you were, under pressure, why is it so hard to square that up?
Because their mind changes in that moment. So when Greg Norman was in that position, he was in the middle of the fairway. He had a 7-iron in his hand. He hit it 20 yards right of the bunker.
No, I know.
Right
Oh,
of
yes,
the bunker.
that's right. That's right.
It's just the
That
same
was-
way he did that with Nicklaus in 1984 at Glen Abbey on the 17th hole. He hit it 30 yards right of in a parking lot, and there was an OB stake missing that sent his ball inbound, made his ball be inbounds, and he won the tournament. Do you remember that, Tim? 1984 on the 17th hole?
No, for an old
Okay.
guy, you're really hitting
You're
it,
very
pal.
good. So here he is again. So knowing that shot that he would have on 18 last year, that
Rory or Greg?
999,000 times out of whatever, he's not going to block it. He does. So now continue with your assessment, because I wanted to ask you how much of what happened last year shows up in this year.
Well, then, so Rory in that, the difficult shot on the 18th hole a year ago was driving it in the fairway. It's very narrow. It's a very difficult shot. He did it perfectly. Now he's got 145 yards. He's got a pitching wedge in his hand, as easy as it gets. So the only thing we can conclude is that his routine, something misfired in his routine. He got distracted and he hit a horrible, horrible shot. So now he got luck, and then he stuffs it in there in the sudden death playoff and wins. And now people think his burden is over. It's not over. It happened to work well with him last year. It's going to help him, but he's still got this trauma in his mind, particularly when he's got these large leads. He gave it up 3 times a year ago. So now this year coming in, he had this big lead after 36 holes. And he on the second round, he made 6 birdies in the last 7 holes. He's on fire. So when he goes into and loses the lead after the 3rd round, he's going into it. I conclude that he's far more comfortable losing a lead, being in the pack with the lead than he does with the big lead. I think he's got a lot of post-traumatic stress disorder in there, if I can say that. And so you can never undo that. What he went through emotionally last year at Augusta, the turmoil, we went through it with him. You can't undo that. It's in a file. So in his mind, your mind is conditioned like a remote control on a TV. And if you go back to that trauma, you're going to probably repeat the same thing. He's going to have to now reprogram his remote control to change the channel or turn the TV off and then recondition it to some form of his routine. You may, I sent to Brad Faxon, who's Rory's coach, before the round and say, Rory's routine, he's taking 6 to 7 looks. And I said if he goes to his shot routine that he does on the driving range, 2 looks and pull the trigger, it's beautiful. When you look at Rory's his shot routine, like when he's chipping, it's 3 looks, pull the trigger, and it's beautiful. It's rhythmic, it's contained. The more looks you do, the longer your shot routine is, the more probability things can enter your mind and disrupt your ability to execute the shot. And this is, in Rory's, he was statistically the worst driver on tour, on the week last week, yet he won in the manner he did. So this, you can look at this as though if he tightens this up, how good is he going to be? Because there's a lot of room for improvement.
Yeah, amazing stuff there, Zook. I agree with all of that. Back to Norman. If you remember that train wreck when he had I forget, was it 6 or 7 shot lead? He went to the final round.
Although in 1996.
Totally collapsed. And like he would stand over the ball, and you just see him milking that grip over and over and over again. It would just take forever. But back to Rory here for a second. One of the things that people I think is that if I have a certain reaction to things that come into my mind or in certain situations, that I can do something like go through, whether it be therapy or NLP or something, and I can change my behavior. I just don't, that's not my experience in how this works, is that you use the word conditioned. We're conditioned since childhood that in certain ways we react in some of those ways serve us and some of those don't. But they just happen. We get, quote, triggered. But so they don't go away. But the skill is in your awareness that's happening. And then you can respond differently. And so to me, I think what happens for Rory, he just kind of gets into these modes of behavior, like you said, too many looks, thinking a lot, just things happening in his body, in his mind. And then he goes, oh, wait a second, I'm doing that thing again. And then he shifts. And so that's my take on conditioning and why these things show up all the time.
Do you remember a psychologist from the University of Guelph named Dr. Richard Linetto?
Yes, you did work with him, and so did Zinger.
And so did Nelford, and so did George Knudsen, and a lot of other people. So he teaches in my book, Zokology, Change Your Perspective, Not Your Swing, I tell the story about that. And what he does is he teaches you to recondition your shot routine. And the idea is to make it as short and as tight as possible. So Rory has these 6 looks. Last year, I was counting his looks. They were up to 9 looks. And so when you look at you look at Justin Rose's routine, he takes 1 look.
Yeah.
The whole idea, when you're under that pressure, you need to create a new condition response. Like you can shorten your routine or lengthen as much as you want. But the idea is to make it short, 1, 2 looks at most, and pull the trigger so you get into a rhythmic pattern. So then your awareness can feel it when it breaks. And then if it breaks in the middle of your routine, you abort and you redo it again until then you just do your...
They say legendarily the Tiger, you could time his whole routine to the nanosecond. So let's go back to Sunday. After all this chaos again, it's all there for him. He's got a 2-shot lead on 18. And as a guy that's played at the highest level of golf, and I don't know if you've ever had a 2-shot lead on the 18th hole, but you've won a tournament. You've won tournaments all your life.
I've had a 1-shot lead with 1 hole to play. Yep.
When he's got that shot at 18, which I was lucky enough to be at the Masters, I know Tim has as well. People have no idea how narrow that tee shot is, how uphill it is, and how quickly those trees on the right come in. The only thing he could do is hit a ball right and then be blocked or in a bush or something. So, again, it's going to sound like maybe a stupid question to you. Knowing that he needs 5, why doesn't he just take 3 wood off that tee and hit it, bunt it out there 260 right at the bunker, and then, or 270, whatever he hits his 3 wood, and then just play it as a par 5?
Well, that's not his.
Is that a stupid question?
No, no, because when people, I guess normal people are in that position, they're confronted with that question and they have to make a decision. Rory, he goes for the driver. He lives by the driver and he dies by the driver. I mean, the Masters outcome on Sunday could have been very different very easily. You know, Scotty has a putt on 17 that looked like it should have dropped. If it does, and Rory hits a bad tee shot left on 17, and then he hits it way right on 18. At any moment, just a bad bounce puts him in a precarious position, and he doesn't win. And those were horrible tee shots on the last 2 holes that Rory hit. So, you know, it fell in his way this time, but it also, you know, got him to a point where he's now got 6 majors. He's moving up the ladder, and now he's chasing to history. And I think it's going to free him up now that he got through this challenge, but he's never going to be exempt from that and having that freedom all the time, because that PTSD that he's got is in his file. He can't unexperience it. It's there. He has to manage himself around those thoughts and make sure when he gets in there, like Tim was saying, that he can then change the channel on his remote control and in his mind.
Here's another segue helper for you. You mentioned the name of your book is Zokology, and right on the front cover, it says, change your perspective, not your swing. You mentioned that. Could you take a little time now and just kind of,
Sure.
I mean, we've talked about it on the show individually. What is it about changing your perspective that makes whatever swing you have more functional?
Well, what happens is all golfers to a large degree have never been taught how to think properly. So when you go to improve your game, you go to change your swing. And then people take their swing and they work on it on the driving range, and then they try to take that swing to the golf course. That doesn't work. That's like putting a round peg through a square hole. It won't fit. So on the golf course, and we all know the sayings, like, you know, you got to play it one shot at a time and you don't get a second ball. And too many people get conditioned that they think that if they improve their swing, they're going to be a better golfer. And of course, you know, improving your swing is important. But when you're on the golf course, if you start thinking about your golf swing, you will be in trouble. And on the golf course, you're executing shots, not, you know, your stroke, a drive. And people who get consumed with their swing and they're constantly trying to improve it will run into frustration. And you've got to learn, if you want to be a good player, you have to learn to execute shots on the golf course. And so you have to condition yourself to think in the forms of executing shots, whether the shot's a 3-foot putt or a tee shot. And if you don't, you're gonna run into a lot of problems. So the book Zokology, Changing Your Perspective and Not Your Swing, is a combination of my memoirs, experiences, struggles, and my journey in the 450 tour events that I played. And it starts with my rookie year, where I put on the headphones because the first 6 months I couldn't make a cut. I couldn't get into a tournament. I was losing my mind. I was getting golf lessons from the so-called best people, and I couldn't perform until something happened. When I listened to music, the first moment I did it, I shoot 65 and I'm leading the tournament. So at that point, I knew this game was psychological. So I dove down the path of psychology, and hence the word Zokology, which is my frame of perspective on how I teach people to learn to play the game.
So is it your sense, Richard, that people, they're constantly looking for this perfect swing, but they're not looking at, say, the mind and the behaviors, and that those are the things that sabotage them the most?
Well, their mind. If you're constantly, and you know, projecting forward to what may or may not happen. If you're scared shitless on the tee, like, well, can't hit it out of bounds here, or are these people? Am I going to be embarrassed? Or if you're looking back on past traumatic experiences of failure, you're just going to build anxiety, and it's going to disrupt your ability to perform on the golf course. So, you have to have an awareness, like you talked about, of where you are. If you're worried about what's going to happen, you're in trouble. And like, we all play golf. If you truly grasp the game of golf, you clearly understand that you're going to probably have a lot more bad shots than you do good shots. So understanding that concept right there, you better prepare what you're going to do most of the time on the golf course. You better have an answer on how you're going to react to that. Are you going to have acceptance? Are you going to fight this and be frustrated and then enter what I call golf insanity?
I want to push back a little bit because it's easy. And again, there are people listening, and I'm sure this has happened over our 11 years, when they might say something to the effect of, easy for you to say because you have a good golf swing. Easy for you to say because you can hit a golf ball, so you can be all focused on, the things that are happening in terms of shot execution. But the reason most people are chasing this, it's almost like a drug habit. They're chasing this dragon of, perfect golf swings. What do you say to those people? Like, because you sort of mentioned you need a functional motion. But most people, I guess the problem is they never come to the point where they think their motion is functional enough to concentrate on what you're talking about.
Well, it's relative. So I can still remember the day when I shot 130 as a junior golfer. I remember I was very disappointed that day.
I guess.
And so as a guy who's questing after being a professional golfer and going through it, I figured that once I got to the PGA Tour, became a professional, then everything would be easy. It's not true. It's the same. My frustrations as a professional golfer are exactly like yours, Howard, and yours, Tim. It's relative. So, sure, you want to improve your golf swing, but once you have the basic fundamentals of being able to hit a good golf shot, even if you're an 18 handicap, you can play well as an 18 handicap. You can hit more consistent shots, executing shots, and if you have a right perspective, you will be able to keep your mind in the present moment because you're stopping the system of mind track golf conditions you or reconditions you to detach emotionally from the results. And these results are extrinsic results because that's where pressure is involved. What it means to me, like, Rory, it means last year winning the Masters meant him obtaining the career Grand Slam. That's an extrinsic result for him, and it's very important. So when he has that in his mind, it puts anxiety in his mind, and he loses the lead 3 times before he wins it in sudden death playoff. So if you're a serious golfer, in all likelihood, you're in some form of golf insanity. Repeating, Howard, you're the demand you want to play at your level over the years. We see these cycles repeating itself.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Hey, by the way, back to Rory just quickly, and then I want to move on to some of the other parts of the book. I still remember, now that we're refreshing the conversation, I think that if he hadn't won last year, I don't know if he would ever win it because of what you said, because of the PTSD.
Yeah, it would have been bigger. It grows like a snowball. Go ahead, Tim.
Well, I wanted to ask, when you say shots, of course we're going to hit shots, but
execute shots. Yep.
So give me an example. Take me through a par 4. You got to have a drive. So what would be the thought that you would have about hitting a shot? Let's say you hit the drive, like in terms of, are you thinking about, okay, where do I want this to land? What's the curvature here? What do I want to avoid? What's the opportunity? And then you get your approach shot. So how is that different than thinking about, I'm going to allow my right elbow to fall, I'm going to finish my backswing and transfer my weight? Go through the difference between swing thoughts and hitting shots.
Okay, so you're on the first tee, and you have to, your pre-shot routine is to assess this shot. Is it a driver? Is it a 3-wood? Is it a one? Was it
You
what
almost
is
said
it?
1 iron.
I know I did.
That's so good. That's how. Wait. That's
how
how you
old
know.
he is. Yes.
No. That's how you know you're talking to guys in their 60s.
That's right.
Because we all had.
That's true.
I don't know what's your 1 iron, but I had a Ping 1 iron. Remember that one?
Acuform.
There you go.
So is it a driving iron, a hybrid?
Is it a driving iron? There you go.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
you have to make a decision. You have to make a decision, and part of it is understanding is it a wide open fairway you can hit driver or not. So then it can also mean what type of shot are you going to hit? You can hit a fade. So then you ask yourself, are you capable of executing after your decision and being committed to this shot? The answer should be hell yes. And then you go forward and you just do the best you can. Like Cameron Young on the 18th hole at Sawgrass at the Players Championship. Here he was. The most difficult situation in the history of the game was in that moment. And he said, avoiding this tee shot isn't, I have to stand in there. So why don't I go in there and make the best shot I can possible? If he was in there going, okay, I better tuck my right elbow in and think of back to a golf swing. If you think of executions and you say, are you capable of executing this shot right here, right now? The answer is absolutely yes, I can. Doesn't mean you're going to do it, but you want to put your best effort for it. And then after you do it, you judge it. How well was your assessment in a three form? Excellent, satisfactory, unsatisfactory. And then how well did you execute it? So you're measuring your pre-shot routine, which is your assessment, and then your shot routine, which is your execution. And you focus on those two outcomes. They're still results, but they're intrinsic. They're not extrinsic. And when they're intrinsic, it pulls you into the present moment. If you're thinking of extrinsic, like, oh, what's the Players Championship going to mean? It's going to make me $4 million and I'm going to be a Players Champion. Those are extrinsic, and that causes anxiety. So you have to have an awareness of where you put your attention, and then that's what builds your conditioned response.
And that was very similar, though. Very similar in the nature of it to Rory's drive on 13 on Sunday. Like, he hadn't hit the fairway on that par 5 all 3 days.
Yep.
And he gets up and he sticks with driver and he finally hits the shot. But so that versus his drive on 18, which was heinous. But in that moment on 13, he stepped up and had to hit the shot and did.
He did, but before that, he stepped up on 12. Like the old saying, that pin was back right. Mm-hmm. The old saying is, you never shoot at the pin. You shoot to the middle of the green. Rory chose to take the risk. He's a risk taker. And he went at that pin. And he made birdie. Then he pulled out driver with history. He had, if his post-traumatic stress disorder thoughts came to him on that tee, he had just hit the previous 3 days on 13 into the bushes. But yet he decided to pull out driver, hit the best tee shot he did all day on 13, and it led him to making another birdie. So 12 and 13 was tremendously courageous, and Rory pulled it off. It was brilliant.
What do you think about Rory? Let's connect Rory to the average golfer. I know it seems like a stretch.
Sure.
He kept saying, just keep swinging, not get guidey as he talked or careful. Mm-hmm. Just keep swinging. To me, I think that is great advice for the average golfer, is that you keep swinging no matter what, and you learn from those swings. Just as you said, you hit the shot, you evaluate what happened, you learn from what happened, and you can take that forward. But just keep swinging. But the golf culture says you got to fix it. You got to pull in some swing thought, something before, so that you stop doing what you're doing. I really like Rory's advice about keep swinging.
Well, what I think he was doing there is he was just repeating a mantra. When he keeps swinging. When you go back to, I'll use Rory as that example because it's what gets him through this mantra. And Cameron Young, his psychologist, Dr. Brett McCabe, gave him a brilliant solution in his mantra. In order for him to stay present while you're walking, he just said, "Where are you?" He says, "I look at my feet." Do you remember him saying that? I look at my feet. That's what keeps him present-minded while he's walking between shots. I remember when I won in Milwaukee, I had a mantra. It was, I am I in the here and now. I am I in the here and now. And that's the one I repeated in my meditation practices to calm me down. So I got conditioned. I am I in the here and now. And I'd repeat this while breathing. When you look at Gary Woodland, who was trying to win and he had his post-traumatic disorder, you could see him consciously breathing. And you know that his psychological and mental health struggles that he's dealing with, it's these mantras that get you through, that keep you present. So when you find yourself in traumatic situations, you have a reaction, and it's your mantra.
And I want to be clear before we move on. You know, when Richard talks about mind track assessment being intrinsic as opposed to external, yes, you're in mind track. We're assessing the shots, but in a different way. You're making an assessment on things you can control, really, your pre-shot and your execution, as opposed to going, okay, I hit it into that bunker. Now what does this mean for me in my score, in my round? What about my backswing? What caused it versus...
But all those things you're talking about right now, those are results.
Yes.
You have to stop thinking about those results.
But that's what drives people crazy, because all those assessments I just mentioned are external, and really, who knows? The club face might have been a millimeter closed or whoever, but assessing it in the mind track world is a different animal, and that's why I think it's such a valuable tool for people to use. In the book, do you touch on that as well?
Oh yeah, chapter 28 is titled "The Golfer's Mind and Mind Track Golf," and I explain in detail what the company is and how to make it work. So the important thing, like all those things, the result of the ball, people are conditioned to the result where it goes, and that is the problem. And and if you're constantly talking about the fairway or the putt and the result of it, it's an indication that you are conditioned to be emotionally attached to the result. And the quest, it's really simple, but it is not easy. It's very difficult. But you have to be committed. You have to do it in order to recondition yourself. So when you get into those situations on the golf course, when they're meaningful, that you have a system to fall back on. Doesn't guarantee you're going to play well, but it increases those chances, and it breaks the golf insanity.
So let's take a different tact at looking at intrinsic versus extrinsic.
Yep.
So you got to feel pretty, I was pulling for either one of the guys whose name starts with R in the Masters, either Rosie or Rory. And I would have been happy with Rosie for sure. 45 years old.
Sure.
A great player, a good guy. Talk about a European Ryder Cup stalwart. But, there he is, comes up, empty again. I think that was his third time. He's been a runner-up three times. Yeah, he's been a runner-up three times. That's and right. Yet again, not there. So how do you think that he balances the intrinsic, I did my best, I followed through on my intentions, my strategies, etc. However, I didn't get the result, because that to me is the average person's life. We want to hit the home run in our relationships, in our businesses, in the things that we do. But honestly, not everyone is able to meet their dreams or do what they want. But so how do we balance that in terms of the intrinsic and the extrinsic?
Yeah, most people aren't able to do that because they haven't conditioned their mind to think properly. For golf, Justin Rose is remarkable. It will square with him in his mind really well. He has a wonderful pre-shot routine, and the storyline with him, unfortunately, he made the turn with the lead, and he is such a stalwart, and his pre-shot routine.
Sorry, your mic dropped out there, Richard. I can't hear you.
I can hear him.
You're back. Oh, you can hear him?
So,
okay.
Yeah.
Just repeat that. So he made the turn with the lead.
He made the turn with the lead. On 11, he hit it right of the bunker. He hit a remarkable pitch shot over the bunker. It's unbelievable how it came up short. He makes bogey. That's expected. His execution on the 12th hole was poor. It was over the green and to the left. And then in that situation, his execution on that chip shot, he stuck it in the ground. That was a shock.
Chunked it.
That was a shock. Like that. no way and I would have ever thought that Justin Rose, he had to deal with it, and he collapsed. So he, unfortunately, as I mentioned in the earlier podcast, in my earlier podcast, that he's putting in a bunch of quarters in the ass kicking machine for his execution on 11, and
There's
then
a great line.
That's right.
then he three putts 13.
No, I was terrible. Well,
So
but
that's unlike Rose, and it's unfortunate.
we
for him.
say that, though, and I wanted to bring up another name. And again, you're uniquely qualified because you've been in those situations. You've been in pressure situations where you had the lead or were near the lead. I just think about what happened to Sam Burns. I think was it Saturday or Sunday?
Sunday, the collapse.
But Sam Burns briefly held the lead.
Well,
He played well, but early in the round, did he not hold the lead, or was that Saturday? But I think whatever it was, as soon as he had a 2-shot lead.
yeah.
It might have been Saturday. And
Well,
as soon as he was up there, you see what he did? He just faded back.
Why? So this is the pattern that came out that unfolded on Sunday. So the only people that got through Amen Corner, this is where the heat of the battle is its most intense. And Justin Rose didn't pass it. The only people that passed this mark, guy by the name of Scotty, guy by the name of Rory, who rose to the top in that situation. Everyone else buckled.
Yep.
And that's what's going to happen. That identifies those two players right there.
You know,
And I guess, sorry, Timmy, and I guess, so for us amateurs to understand, that is the difference. When they talk about, you look at the range of a tour event, they all look like world beaters.
Yeah.
But in those moments,
Yeah.
those people can execute. And it is execution.
They feel more comfortable in that situation than anyone else. They have a system in which that allows them to execute shots in the heat of battle.
Right.
How about this Hao Tang Li? Would you see him on Saturday?
Unbelievable.
Right in there. He tops it in the water on 15. And then on Sunday, he's in the heat of this thing. He shoots 80. So, he's going to learn from that. The thing I love about Hao Tong Li, he's the self-proclaimed best-looking man in China.
No, I know.
I know. He's so
right.
funny. On the Instagram post on Sunday night or Monday or whatever, there's a picture of him in the trees off 13, and then there's a picture of this wee lass, kind of like looking like little lost little Bo Peep type of thing. But
It's very funny.
Chambly said a very interesting thing on Saturday after Rory lost the lead. And Chambly made a great point, is that many golfers have this assumption that all the great players of the game were impervious to pressure.
Exactly.
That
You're right.
ice in their veins and all that kind of stuff. And so Chambly, part of the thing why I like him so much is he does his frickin' research, and he pulled out some years in the Masters where I think Hogan went into Saturday with a big honking lead, shoots 79. Ben frickin' Hogan, and Jack another time he shot 73 on a Saturday. So I don't know, Zoke, is it? I mean, everyone seems in golf. Chambly said the only guy who was able to just maintain with Tiger. Everyone else had times in which they just crumbled under pressure, whatever you call it. How do you
he was
respond?
referring to 54-hole leads.
That's it. Exactly.
Yeah. And Tiger, the only time Tiger lost a 54-hole lead was against the kid in the PGA Championship.
Oh, yeah.
Well, he lost it.
Brad
He
May?
lost.
No. Brad
Hal
May, he beat him.
Sutton beat him at the Players' Championship.
No, I'm just talking about when he had a 54-hole lead. He only lost in a major championship.
Right, yeah.
The only one he lost was at the PGA Championship against an Asian player. Can't remember his name.
Oh, yes. Who's we've never heard of again.
We'd never. But so finish up that thought, Richard, and then we're going to have to start wrapping things up here.
Well, there's only a few people that can handle that intense heat on Amen Corner on Sunday, and that's kind of how it unfolded, and it's fascinating to dissect all this stuff.
Where do people get the book? Is called Zokology. There's it's how I competed and won on the PGA Tour by changing the way I thought. If
Great title.
People want to,
well done.
Yeah, great title. And people want to get more about Mind Track, you can look it up or buy the book.
you can either go to ECW Press, or if you go to Amazon Books and punch in, if you punch in zoology, you'll get zoology. If you punch in Richard Zokol, you'll get the book. And
well, of course, you're famous for golf and the work you've done with the primate families.
That's it. It's
we
a
want to
kind-hearted
wish you
soul.
nothing but success. The podcast is called Tough Lies.
The Golfers
And,
Podcast.
The Golfers Podcast, and it's available every Monday.
Every Tuesday. We do it every Monday. We look back on yesterday's performance and dissect who won and who didn't and what were the reasons why.
Well, listen, and as always, you're welcome here, and we certainly appreciate you hanging out with us.
Yeah, friend of show.
Thank you guys. Always
All right. There he is, Richard Zokol. Just let yourself out, and we'll continue with this nonsense.
Thanks, guys, so much. Always a pleasure.
Thank you, sir.
Bye.
Thanks, Dick.
I've got a little audio here I picked out I thought you'd find interesting, Timmy. Where is it? So this is some audio since we're doing the deconstruct. Yeah, I know we're doing the podcast. Smart guy. Listen, I'm gonna give you so much grace, but don't poke the bear, buddy. I'm just kidding. So we talked a lot about Rory today. So I've got some audio of Rory. I'm not sure when this was. It might have been just before the Masters. But it's, I think, some interesting audio for people to listen to about how he thinks. And the clip is called "What's the Worst That Can Happen?"
But if a lot of people to do this, but I do, if you're trying to overcome anxiety or nerves around performance, I do try to think about, well, what's the worst that could happen? Like I used to have like first tee nerves, like big time. I would struggle on the first tee. And so I would say to myself, well, what's the worst that could happen? So if you hit it in the trees, okay, then what do? You go up there and you figure it out. You know, you're skillful enough to hit a punch shot out of the trees and, you know, get it up to the green and get it up and down and make a par and move on. For whatever reason, imagining like the worst case scenario gave me a level of comfort, because I felt like any worst case scenario that I could bring up in my head, I'll be able to deal with, especially on the first tee for me. Because when you, as you know, if you get nervous on the golf course, you get tight and you get like guidey, and so it gives me a sense of freedom. And so I think I'm not standing behind a tee shot and visualizing myself hit a bad shot. Like I'm visualizing myself hitting it where I want to. But I think just even before I get to that point, thinking, well, what's the worst that can happen? And then if the worst that can happen isn't that bad, it's like, well, that's okay.
You'll be able to manage it.
Yeah.
I love that. Especially, I think we can all relate. And I've said this before, I'm sure you have too. Like, I would rather roast one in the trees, knowing that I gave it a full ride, that I was swinging with abandon, that I was going to release it, and it just didn't work out. I would much rather that than to guide it into trouble, because like there's only a couple things that can happen. Either you hit it good, or as Richard or Zokol would say, you have a good outcome, you can assess it, did it go where I wanted to go, or it doesn't. And as we know as golfers, most of the time it doesn't. And yet we somehow seem to have short memories. Like he said, for how many times I've hit shots and gotten out of trouble, or got it back in play. Or every once in a while, you put it in a funky spot and you hit an amazing shot. So I really took that to heart, because I think that happens to me quite a bit in bigger events where I just can't roast it with abandon.
Yeah. I do take some solace that Rory frickin' McIlroy has dealt with first tee nerves. I mean, he doesn't make,
No, I love that.
I think that's amazing. So, but what I also think is interesting about what you said is that you'd rather, as you say, roast it into the woods. You just gave it a good free swing. You went at it. That to me speaks, that's a mature, experienced golfer talking there, because most golfers aren't at that level yet, because they're still in that area where, and particularly adult golfers, who is most of the people I think who listen to this podcast, they are trying to do it right. So they're being, quote, guidey, like Rory said, please don't hit it here and make sure I do this correctly. And But once you've been through the fire of golf and tournament golf, you start to understand how that just doesn't frickin' work. It only took me about 3 decades to get
That's
that.
right.
But that is the thing. So once you start getting that experience, and it's so interesting working with golfers who are, most people who I coach, it's the same all the time. How do I deal with all these thoughts? And I say, well, you're going to have some experience that you'll eventually, over time, you'll start to understand. You can have the thoughts, but swing anyways. And through your experience, you'll find that you actually, like Rory said, you didn't die. You're okay. And that the worst thing that can happen, you make a bogey, you bogey first 3 holes, you still go on. You might get a birdie or 2 down the road and start getting.
But what
back.
you said about the fact that it's taken us so long to, sometimes I know we say it all the time. Oh, we've said this before, but my buddy Grant had this great phrase that I've co-opted, which is lessons are repeated until learned. Lessons are repeated until learned.
Absolutely.
It's not only what happens to us through our lives, but certainly in golf. You know, I was hitting balls on Monday with my longtime friend and coach, Paul Henrik. And he has been telling me the same thing in about 1,500 different ways for as long as I'll be 10 years. I've known this guy 10 years this July. He was kind of my original sponsor in the AA world. Because he was a guy that had quit drinking before me, and he kind of mentored me through that. And then, of course, has worked with me on my golf game. Anyway, he told me something on Monday that he's told me so many times, but in a way that finally made sense to me. And we've been doing this for 10 years. And I thought of that Grant, that saying that I've been told this lesson, but today I learned it. Today he finally found a way to make it make sense to me. But that took a long time.
Yeah. And so it's, you're bolstering sort of my conviction that the best teacher is experience. It's not from taking in a bunch of information. That can help. Advice, getting help is really good. Having a coach is good, but it's through your own experience, which is whatever happening. That's where you learn. And so, like a friend of mine said, a great line I quote all the time: "I never learned anything on a good day."
Yeah, I love that. Well, and speaking of lifting expressions, last week after the podcast with Carl, I must have said, research your own experiences a billion times, because
totally.
I love that. I love the idea. Now, in this particular case, I got somebody that has been standing beside me, watching me hit balls for the better part of a decade. That's rare, like to have somebody that knows your swing so well. Before we wrap up, I wanted to play you another bit of audio. Are you like a little bit of something different?
Yeah, absolutely.
So this is about a minute long. And it's the actor Andy Garcia. Do you know him? Just look him up. He was in the, originally he was known for Godfather 3, which was the stinkiest of the 3 of them. Most recently, Andy Garcia, you would have seen him in Landman. You ever watch that show, Landman?
No, but you know what I know Andy Garcia from? He got accused of sandbagging at Pebble Beach about
Did he really?
15 years ago. Oh, yeah. He was just hung out
that.
to dry.
Well, I'll tell you what, man. He's an actual golfer. Here's Andy Garcia, the actor, talking about his experience in this maddening game.
So we went to the Key Biscayne golf links where we were all staying on Key Biscayne in Miami. It's a beautiful old course there. Very, very long, very difficult. There's a lot of water. Rented some clubs and I played, and I realized how much I love the game. And of course, I got hooked right away, So then I came back to LA, I bought some clubs, and just, that was it. My love affair for the game, being that I wasn't playing competitive sports anymore, really. I grew up playing tennis, a lot of things, but I just got, obsessed with it, as most golfers do. It's become a great, companion of mine. I find a lot of solace in the game. I enjoy the game tremendously, and I enjoy the camaraderie and the challenges that the game brings to you as you play. You play within yourself. And you can be your own worst enemy while you're playing, by doing certain things. And you go like, come on. My friends laugh because whenever I hit kind of a goofy shot, and I know I could have hit them much better, I go, Andrew, and I call myself Andrew. I don't know why. I mean, my name is Andres, which is Spanish for Andrew. My nickname's always been Andy since I was born. And so why I call once I hit a bad shot, I go, Andrew.
Isn't that great?
Yeah, man. Speaking of expressions that I loved, I just picked up a new one today. That when Dick said he was putting quarters in the ass kicking machine.
Oh, I love that. That's great.
I'd never heard that one
Neither
before.
had I. I thought that was
That's
beautiful.
a beauty. Yeah.
Well, there you go. Another episode. Thank you very much to Richard Zokol, the book Zokology. I look forward to reading it. We talked about the Masters. I got a note from Tim. I got very excited to hear that there's a possibility of the return of the great Fred Shoemaker on this program.
Yeah. So Fred and I are just kind of trying to figure that out when he would come on. I'm trying to figure out how many podcasts this is. So we just recorded. We are in midst of concluding number 313, our 11th year, our second show, our second official show of 2026, and man, our producer Nick, why don't you join us here?
Yeah, Nick. Nick Frias.
Hello, sir. Yeah,
Hello, Nicky.
Man, you're doing just a kick-ass job, man. Speaking of different use of the word kick-ass. So Nick, why don't you remind our good listeners where they can find your amazing handiwork as our social media producer?
So for Instagram and Twitter, it is both the same username, swing_thoughts_podcast. And for YouTube, all one word, Swing Thoughts Podcast. That's where you'll find sneak peeks to some of the next episodes. They usually go out on Thursday, and then you'll also just find a bunch of clips from pre-existing episodes as well.
Yeah, and so thanks, Nick. And folks, just to check out this young man's amazing handiwork, just go to Instagram. He does amazing work. It's really fun to watch. And
and it's elevated our presence for the first time in 11 years.
Yeah, I mean, we finally decided to tell people we're doing this thing.
That's right. Let's also tell people that this program is brought to you by TaylorMade QI 4D drivers. They're fastest, most fittable drivers yet. It's time to find your new fast. If you want to find Tim O'Connor, he's back in business at o'connorgolf.ca. This program is produced by the Humble and Fred Show, and we will see you in some manner, fashion, or form 1 week from today. Thank you, Tim.
Thank you, sir. Good to see you.
Good to see you as always. We'll see you all next week.
You get a shiver in the dark, it's raining in the park, but meantime, sound of the river, you stop and you hold